Harry and Meghan's tour of Colombia is getting more and more disturbing by the day. And it's not just that they're doing the cosplay royal routine. We've seen them do this time and time again because apparently they don't have any talent or anything else to do that they have to copy what other people have done before. No, what's really, really disturbing me about this trip is the censorship, the controlling of the narrative to such an extent that Harry and Meghan are essentially not letting any media into any events. In fact, we don't even have audio on some of the official videos given of this trip. There is zero audio. There's not even music, for Pete's sake. And I look at this and I'm just like, why? For two people who seemingly are so into making sure that everything is transparent and the importance of accountability. And of course, you cannot forget fighting against misinformation. They are not exhibiting an iota of it in Colombia. And it is startling as well that the Colombian government is going along with this. And they are paying upwards of $2 million to ferry two people around on essentially a taxpayer funded vacation for no benefit to the country of Colombia. And that is because, as well, there is zero information and almost zero videos getting out about this visit. Why? Because Harry and Meghan have barred any foreign media outlet that they have not explicitly approved. And apparently there's just one, and that's, or maybe two, and that's seemingly Reuters and Harper's Bazaar, from sharing any information about it, like any pictures, any videos. And the videos, there is no audio. And I got a funny reason why I think that is. It doesn't even have music. And this is something that people need to call out because this is not how royalty works. This is not even how politicians work. If you are going to be somebody who's a global mover and shaker, you need to have an element of transparency and accountability. Harry and Meghan want none of that. In fact, it's Meghan's, I think, absolute desire for control that is dominating this entire tour and is going to come back to bite Harry and Meghan because they are going there to Colombia to supposedly raise awareness about some things. But if no journalists can cover any of it, we don't have any audio from particular events, how in the world is this stinking message going to get out there? You need the press. Harry and Meghan's little blurbs on their website ain't going to do diddly squat. So we're going to go into this because I think this is an exceptionally important topic to make because the game Harry and Meghan are playing can have grave consequences. And so let's get into it. But if you haven't been to Royal News Network before, my name is Brittany. I provide you all compelling royal commentaries. If you want to hit that subscribe button, I would love to have you back. We love talking about royals here. And if you want to talk about royals and go on, like, let's say, a tour in terms of a fun vacation tour, you can accompany us if you're interested in attending the Christmas market trip that is right before Christmas. It's December 15th through 22nd, and we go to Berlin, Dresden, and Prague. So that is in Germany and the Czech Republic. It'll be a wonderful, marvelous, amazing trip. You will make amazing friends, all of people who love talking about this stuff, because it's kind of funny, especially with this trip. You get the sense oftentimes that there are little groups of people that are talking about this, but the broader public is like, I don't care. And of course, that's totally fine. Everybody has their own interests. But if you have people who you really want to talk to more about this stuff and your family and friends are maybe getting a little bored with it, we would love to have you join us. There will be a link up above if you are interested. And we're starting to get somewhat close, about 2 months until the trip closes. So you definitely want to check it out. One of the people going got amazing price on some tickets. So if you guys would like to come and have the ability, there is a link up above. So looking at this video overall, I was actually going to do something else about Harry and Meghan's body language, and I'll still probably do that. But this issue, I think, is even more important because I feel like some people don't understand media and they don't understand how people misinform you by not telling you particular things. And for two people, again, who are so interested in combating misinformation, they're giving you a lot here. And they're doing that by controlling the narrative. When people don't include particular information, they are trying to push you towards a particular direction. And Harry and Meghan obviously have a bias to promote themselves in the best way possible. So of course, they're going to promote themselves in the best way possible by leaving out things that don't make them look too good. Like, for example, the fact that this could be costing Colombians $2 million for a glorified vacation, because that is exactly what this is. Because again, Harry and Meghan have no power, no influence, no impact beyond headlines, which is what we've seen. And honestly, because there is no media at this event, there's no way for any information to get out. So that's point number one here. When it comes to the censorship and the lack of transparency about this trip. What's so incredibly stupid is that the whole point is to raise awareness about social media, the Invictus Games, and what the plight that children go through, and all these sorts of things. But because there's literally no information, none of that is getting out. We don't even have any videos of discussions. We don't have any little tidbits. We have nothing except for what Harry and Meghan give us. And I'm sorry, but that's not enough, nor is that really appropriate at all. So let's take example this day two, Collegio La Giralda. Probably didn't do that right. Look, Meghan right there looking actually like she should be out of school instead of at a rave. And Harry. And we get this little, I would say maybe 500 word blurb. The couple were warmly welcomed by Seraphin and Dens, the head of the school. They made a memorable visit. It was to celebrate education, well-being, and community spirit, highlighting the remarkable initiatives and the dedicated people who make the school possible. They're taken to an urban garden. The garden promotes sustainability, cooperative work, beautification of the school together with friends, family, whatever. And they planted a walnut tree along with security guards apparently carrying bulletproof things to protect the couple because of course this is a very dangerous country to go to, and it's somehow less dangerous to go to Colombia than it is to go to the UK. Wonders never cease, right? And so we do have a little bit more here, and we got some pictures. Oh, look, Harry looking so happy with the kids. Oh, we got the traditional dresses. Harry again. Oh, we got Meghan. Oh, she's getting a hug, guys. She's getting a hug. Now, what is this? This is essentially propaganda. And we got another picture here. So, like I said, this is essentially propaganda. And what I mean by that is that Harry and Meghan are trying to control the entire narrative of this visit. They want these pictures to be the only pictures you see. They want this blurb to be the only thing you learn. Now, you get little tidbits from other things like Meghan, she did speak French. Oh, Meghan showcasing her Spanish skills. And I got words on that, and we'll get there. And so they did this. They also got gifts for their kids, apparently, because you know what two children in a $14 million mansion need is free gifts from children in Colombia who are living in poverty. That's exactly what they need. Now, granted, of course, this sort of happens when royals visit, and I kind of sort of get it. But at the same time, too, it seems just ridiculous because, again, Archie and Lily don't care. Harry and Meghan don't care about any of these kids. This is literally something out of North Korea, essentially. Look, I'm visiting, I'm smiling, kids are smiling, we're all getting along great, and don't look behind the curtain because this is all you need to see. And I have an immense problem with this. Number one, there is no substance to this. It's all to glorify Harry and Meghan, nothing about the school really. Because, of course, we have to learn that Meghan showcased her Spanish skills. You know, that's probably very, very elementary because the only kids she could talk to are elementary school students. And we learned a little bit, but really, the things you get are when you can interact directly with people, when you can talk to people who met them and interacted with them. Now we get little tidbits from People magazine, but we don't really get enough. This is all about control. We also have this responsible digital future thing. And of course, we have a quote with Archwell Foundation. Me and my wife believe that information integrity is a fundamental right. He said, we should model how we want our kids to be raised and for the world in which we raise them. Meghan said, it doesn't matter where you live. It doesn't matter who you are. Either you personally or someone you know is a victim of what's happening online, and something we can actively work on every day to remedy. Well, Meghan, I would love it if you actually took initiative and called out your Sussex squad who bullies other people in your name. But no, you don't really care. So, but this is the thing. We have these little quotes, but we don't have really much video. We have little like 1-minute clips. That's it. We don't hear their full conversation. We don't even get what the rest of these conversations were. Why? Because Harry and Meghan don't want you to know. They want to censor the information you are given about this trip because this is not about promoting Colombia. It's not about online safety. It's not about the integrity of the history of Colombia or anything like that. It's about Harry and Meghan, most specifically Meghan. This trip is about Meghan, mostly because the vice president right here, she's a stan. The whole reason they're there is because The vice president is her fan and watched Netflix, and that's why she wanted them there, and that's why they're there. That's the only reason. Literally the only reason. And I believe the people of Colombia deserve better, to be quite frank, because that's really obnoxious. It's like you're spending $2 million of taxpayer money to host 2 people who are not really giving you anything, and they're there just because you personally liked their reality TV show. That's the whole reason. That's the whole reason. And this goes back to something that I've noticed from Meghan very much from the jump, and that is that Meghan, I think, is very, very controlling. Her issue in the royal family wasn't privacy, even though she claims, she hated the invasions to her privacy. She wanted privacy, all these things. And that's why they went to California and stuff. No, 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 no. It wasn't about privacy. It's about control. It has always been about control. Meghan wants to control the narrative. She wants to control everything. She doesn't want any information to get out that she doesn't approve of. And that's not how royalty works. That's not even really how politicians work, except if you're in the United States, because basically most of the mainstream media is liberal. And so they cover for liberal politicians. That is just the truth. But anyways, that's not to get political, but Meghan desperately, desperately wants to control. And she revealed this in the Netflix series. And I've mentioned this time and time again. In one of the video clips, she talks about how she wanted to get a feel for Harry based on his Instagram. I don't know about you, but I don't get a real feel for somebody based on their Instagram. Why? Because it's fake. We all know it's fake. For the vast majority of people, it's mostly fake. They show the best moments of their lives. They don't show the disappointments, the failures, those sorts of things. Instagram is a highlight reel. That's what Meghan only wants people to see, the highlight reel. She doesn't want anybody to see anything else underneath. No, 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 no. It's about the highlight reel. She is obsessed with controlling the narrative. And the thing she hated about being part of the royal family is that she did not control the narrative. And people learn things about her that she would prefer them not to learn. And the shadow self, as some people say, so this is the self that you wish you could be, but aren't really. Her shadow self was revealed for the fraud that it is. She's not really charitable. She doesn't really care about other women. She's not really somebody who is focused on family. And in this particular instance, another point here, she doesn't really speak Spanish. So I have a theory, and I don't know if this theory is true or not, but this is what I can deduce based on the fact that we're not getting a lot of great insight into this. And this again reveals so much about Meghan Markle. So take a listen to this little clip here.
No, you speak Spanish?
I do now, but they speak a very different kind of Spanish. It's Castellano, so it almost sounds like Italian.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly.
Now, I don't know about you, but I can assume, kind of based on what Meghan says to Craig Ferguson, so this happened years before she met Harry, is that Meghan speaks Spanish. And you could almost deduce that she is fluent in Spanish. She learned Spanish. Now, she doesn't say, and this is what I would say, is like, I have kind of a basic, elementary, like very, very, very elementary understanding of French and Spanish because I've taken those classes. Now, could I say something well in either of those languages? No, absolutely not. I could say maybe a couple things. And I could figure something out in a sentence, probably not well, but that's what I would say. It's like, I did an internship in Argentina and I picked up a smidge of it, but honestly, I couldn't really tell you much now. I couldn't really hold a conversation. Like, that's the truth. And I think that's Meghan's truth, but she doesn't want people to know that. And that is why all the video of this trip so far is completely dead silent. She doesn't want people to know that she speaks a elementary, very low-level Spanish and poorly. She doesn't want people to know that. So she masks it by having the only media outlet who is approved to take audio and video of the event completely and utterly mute it, except for in a handful of incidents. It doesn't make any sense to mute the audio. Royals do that sometimes as they're going through an event and stuff like that, but also usually they add music. It's really bizarre to have a video with zero music. There's zero music to this, zero. So it's weird. It is very, very strange. And so you can't really get a feel for anything because you don't know what anyone is saying. And I think, again, the truth here is Meghan really doesn't have a good understanding of Spanish, And she made a big fuss about actually knowing Spanish. And as it turns out, she doesn't know a lick of it. And that again goes back to the controlling issue. Meghan wants control. And she put out this lie that, yes, maybe got magnified, but all she had to do was correct it at some point. And she could do a sweet thing of, my Spanish isn't great, but let me try a little bit with you. I'm so sorry. Like, you could actually make it kind of cute. Like, Catherine has done a bit of sign language. William has done a bit of sign language, and they're probably not fluent, but they know enough to kind of sort of communicate, which is great. I'm sure they're going to try to start learning Welsh because they are the Prince and Princess of Wales. But I don't think either of them would go over and then say, "Oh yeah, I'm fluent in Welsh," or whatever. They would be real about it. Meghan essentially left something up to inference. And instead of clarifying it on this tour, as far as we can tell, now granted, more might come out, but it's day 2, and we have 0 video with audio except for a couple exceptions, and I'll go into that. But I believe there is a deliberate media blackout in part because she doesn't want to admit that she lied about speaking Spanish. That is my personal opinion and personal theory. You are free to disagree. And so she is controlling the media narrative and controlling who gets access. So she's not revealed for, sort of, in this case, the fraud that she is. And this is such a dumb thing to be concerned about at the end of the day. And we even got really confirmation already that she's not good at Spanish because they did this event last night and they were on this stage and they were both given earphones to listen to somebody translate for them. And Meghan and Harry both spoke in English. Now, obviously, they can know some elementary Spanish that they do live in California. That's, of course, totally something that happens because a lot of people in California, of course, speak Spanish. But it's just the ludicrousness of being, I think, in my personal opinion, so concerned with people realizing that you actually don't speak Spanish, that you kind of sort of lied about that you're trying to control the media narrative so nobody hears you speaking Spanish. There's a couple of articles that mention, oh, she speaks Spanish and oh, it's so good. She went right into Spanish. I'm like, well, where's the video evidence of that? Because until we have video evidence of that, these testimonies mean absolutely nothing. They mean nothing. And again, I think it's Meghan's thing. She doesn't want people to know that she kind of miffed that. And she needs a media that's willing to go along with that. And surprising, it's not People Magazine. People Magazine was not invited on this trip. Now, I don't know if somebody's tagging along, but I don't think so. Seems like they're just reporting based on what they have. The Daily Mail actually sent someone, but I don't think he can get access to anything. So he can't really report on anything because he's not there. So Harry and Meghan chose, get ready for it, Harper's Bazaar, a fashion magazine, to cover this tour exclusively. And what did they do recently? Why, they had an entire article on Meghan Markle's clothing to that school visit that we went over earlier. So yes, they visited this school and Meghan Markle chose a fashion magazine. So of course, for that particular visit, the only thing that was discussed was her fashion. Nothing else. Nothing else but the fashion. Yep. Yep. Because again, Meghan Markle doesn't care about the substance of this visit. That's not the point. The point is to make her look like a royal. She's a cosplay royal. She's trying to really act the part. And so she has to have somebody, a willing stooge. And in this case, it's Harper Bazaar. And just as a reminder, Omid Scobie used to write. He was, I think, the royal editor or something for Harper's Bazaar at one point. So it kind of makes sense that she would go with it. I don't think he writes there really anymore because, he's writing fiction now, as if he ever wasn't not writing fiction. Anyways, so I think it's very clear that that's why she chose that particular website instead of something more concrete. Like, I would even say maybe People Magazine might be a little bit better. But here's the thing too. People Magazine really didn't have any substance to it. That article was like substantive nonsense. It was like nothing. It was really, really bad because I got the article and I read it and I was like, I learned nothing about Nigeria. I learned nothing about their purpose there. I literally learned nothing in that magazine about their trip to Nigeria, the purpose or any of it. And that is because Harry and Meghan obviously didn't give them anything. And I don't think it was beneficial enough for them to even return. That's part of it. People Magazine's like, well, you keep giving us exclusive. Is that fine? That's fine. But we really can't justify sending someone because we didn't really get anything because you guys didn't give us anything. And that's the thing too. Meghan is all flash and zero substance. And Harry, of course, is going along with it. She is flashy. She wears flashy jewelry. She wears flashy clothes, oftentimes inappropriate clothes. And so because she has this kind of tacky flashiness, there is ends up being so much focus on that there's really little substance to gain. And in part because there is little substance because Meghan is not a substantive person. She is more interested in the flash than she is in having an in-depth conversation. I mean, the kind of asinine things they say sometimes, it's like, well, what did your grandmother tell you to do? I think she said something to this effect in the conference, that they had last night. What did your grandmother tell you to do? If you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. And I'm like,
did that come from your grandmother or were you just watching Bambi with your kids?
Did your grandmother not teach you anything else? Like, it might be best not to lie about speaking Spanish. Maybe best not to lie about that because then when you get an opportunity and your feet are put to the fire, you're revealed to be somewhat of a fraud. And this goes again to their inability to tell the truth. And that's why it's so important for them to let the media in because they're not trustworthy. They're not trustworthy speakers. They're not trustworthy actors. They are not trustworthy. And because of that, you need to have an outside media coming in. Because what happens when a royal goes on tour is that, yes, you have your own media promoting it. So I guess in this case, you would call it a communications team. And actually, Spain does this really, really well. They have their own, obviously, social media team who covers a lot. They do videos, they do pictures, like they do a ton of things. But Carlos Alvarez, who's actually a Getty photographer, and I know his name because he photographs them all the time, he's still also allowed to come to those events. Other journalists are invited into those events because you need two tracks. And here's a big, big problem. You need to have your own media. You can't just let the media, so this is like the mainstream media or anything like that, control it 100%. But what you also need is an outside media observing you and reporting. You can't just have yourselves reporting. You know who does that? Kim Jong-un in North Korea. That's what it is. And again, it goes back to this thing of Meghan doesn't really want privacy. She wants control and censorship. I think personally, she is more interested in supporting her own narrative than advocating for the causes she claims to be passionate about. That's who Meghan Markle is at the end of the day. I mean, you even see this, and they're so even inept in their own coverage of this that they basically have the same article about the social media conference that they did last night on their Archwell website. So they have two articles basically on each of their websites that cover the same thing. These are the same quotes. These are the same quotes. Do they not have any other quotes they could use? And they probably do, but they're lazy. And so they don't want to because, again, this is not about supporting the causes. It's about advocating for themselves. And here is the rub at the end of the day. Colombia, again, like we said, and I'm repeating this because it deserves to be repeated, may be spending upwards of $2 million to host them. And what are they getting out of it? A whole lot of nothing. Because Meghan's control and censorship and lack of transparency in the media means is that no information is getting out about this. There was this one video, Princess Carparkle posted it, but I cannot find it anywhere else. I think it's controlled by Reuters. And so I would probably have to pay for that. And that's the thing too, is not only are they taking their own pictures, they're submitting them to Getty Images. So you have to pay to use those pictures. It's crazy. It's absolutely insane. If you don't know, Getty Images, they cost $175, I think 2 something, 3 something, and then $4.99 for a big image. So small image is $175, large image is $4.99. So they're potentially making a lot of money from this trip because they're forcing people to buy their pictures. And that is just so crass, underhanded, just awful of them. It reflects two people who don't give one single crap about anyone else but themselves and making money. Like they're literally making this a money making trip for them. And it shouldn't be. My whole thing was they don't make any money from these. But I guess I was wrong because if they're controlling all the videos and pictures, except for a few outside instances, well, then they can force people to buy their pictures and they can force people to pay them to do charity. Is that not despicable? I think that's really despicable because the royals do give out handouts to the media. I get them from Getty Images. Oftentimes, they're completely free. They're completely free. And that is how they should move forward. And I admire the royals for that. So all the coronation pictures, I got them for free. I didn't have to pay anything for them. I got the big images, $0. But Harry and Meghan are not like that. They want you to pay them to be charitable. They don't want to do it out of the goodness of their hearts. They want to do it to be charitable. And then they have the gall as well to control the entire media narrative around it. Because again, it's more important for them to control their narrative than it is to advocate for important causes. And they'll make an impoverished country like Colombia pay them to look important. So, guys, let me know what you think about this video. Let me know what you think of Harry and Meghan and their controlling censorship ways. I'd love to get your thoughts. I appreciate you watching again, and I look forward to catching up with you very, very soon. Bye.